What have we learned in the last 2 weeks with all the FTX issues and everything else that's happened because of it and the fallout because of it? It's important sometimes to get a nice little brief synopsis of what happened over the last 2 weeks. And I want to show you guys a tweet here that's kind of gone through some of the points of the last 2 weeks, which when you take a step back, it's kind of mind-boggling. And I wanted to highlight this for you guys, all right? So lifetime lessons. This is lifetime lessons. Millions of people have learned in the past 2 weeks, and I want to touch on each and one of these, right? So political donations can shield you from jail. Now this is a direct shot at Sam Bankman-Fried, or Sam Bank-Run-Fraud is how many people are calling him. He's the second largest donor to Joe Biden. And with all that has happened in this space, publicly, it's transparent, a lot of things that they were doing, and as more is being revealed, it's unbelievable that he is not in jail. He has literally scammed millions of people and millions of dollars, obviously, and has really purposely crashed many projects through his actions. And he's still running around like no issues, giving interviews, doing all kinds of things. And I want to share one thing at the end here of the absurdity of this whole situation, of him still running around, still being able to do all these things. And I'll share that at the end. So that's crazy, right? That, hey, if you give enough political donations with enough oomph to it, enough size and significance to it, it'll keep you out of jail no problem. So the next one here is no one that matters is doing due diligence. And this one's kind of crazy. You think about all of the entities that were tied to FTX and Alameda Research. All of the big names that were there. I'm not talking about celebrities or anything like that. But even entities, investors, projects, all these people who were involved. And what ended up happening was, it seems like it was more of, hey, they did research on you guys, due diligence on you guys, so we don't have to. And so that continued, right? I mean, just recently we had Gemini's lending arm there of Genesis saying that they had all this exposure and were given FTT token as collateral. I mean, they didn't do due diligence. So all these things here, you just assume that the way these people talk when a startup is pitching to them, you look at Shark Tank or whatever, right? You think that so much due diligence is happening, but people get duped even in this space, and even if they're so-called savvy investors, it still happens, and this proves that clearly. Next point here is the one that is literally like a tattoo on the brain in the crypto space, which is not your keys, not your coins. As soon as you put your assets on a platform and they custody it for you, you don't own it. I mean, you don't have control over it. You've literally given away everything. All right. So if your private keys, if your assets aren't protected by your own private keys and someone else is protecting it, they essentially own it. And so they're not your coins. And FTX has definitely proved that, as well as Celsius and other platforms. As soon as your crypto gets transferred to their exchanges or to that entity, it's over. They can do as they please, or if they get in trouble, it's not good for you. So then they go on to say regulators are politicians. And this is probably the most concerning part here. Everyone always talks about, hey, we need more regulation in crypto. We need more regulation. It's the wild, wild west. And many people have said that, hey, because of this, I don't want to invest. I don't feel comfortable. It's a scam, all that kind of stuff, right? And I'm not here to debate, is more regulation needed? Absolutely, it is needed. I would say more clarity is needed than heavy-handed regulation. But, that's a fine line. But here's the thing, though. Many of these regulators, Gary Gensler and others, who are supposed to be there to protect us, the consumer, they're actually politicians in disguise, and they do things to bolster their own position, the perception of who they are, versus actually taking care of those they're responsible for. And so while they put up a good front when it comes to media, when a camera's in their face and someone's interviewing them, really behind the scenes, it's not happening. I mean, Gensler was working directly with SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried. These government entities knew about. I mean, they were investigating weeks before everything happened with FTX and did not step in. So all these regulators who are there to protect us, they didn't. They let everything burn to the ground. The next one here is MSM can be biased. So mainstream media, that's what it stands for. And we've seen that across the board, especially over the last week. As I mentioned, SBF, he's been able to run around, have interviews, get actually interviewed about all topics except for what he did. And the way that they frame him in the media is that he's just a smart, genius guy that was in over his head, not that he was intentionally scamming from day one. So mainstream media definitely is biased. Leverage is hard. Now, many of these platforms that have gone under, they were over leveraged. And when things turn, or it's kind of like a domino effect. When something in that stream of money or collateral falls out of favor, all the dominoes fall with it. So leverage is always a tough spot. And then you look at traders who trade heavy on leverage. As soon as the market turns or something happens in what they're trading, everything gets wiped out. And so that's why it says leverage is hard. Yield is risk. And this kind of ties back to not your keys, not your coins. Yield meaning you literally stake or deposit your crypto assets onto any platform. They lock it up, and because you lock it up, you get rewarded some kind of yield, whether it's in the same type of asset that you locked up. So if you put Bitcoin down, you get Bitcoin in return as yield, or it's USDC or some other kind of perk. The very fact that you are, again, placing your crypto assets onto another entity or platform, you're giving it to them. It's not yours. And so that's where the risk happens. So now if they're over leveraged, if the controlling parties are doing some underhanded things or can't run their business and go out of business or whatever the case is, not your keys, not your coins, and then all that yield that you were trying to get is now put at risk, or you're putting your assets at risk just for the yield. So this person also says, what else? I mean, there's a laundry list of things, right? I'll say this, that crypto Twitter is pretty unrelenting, and social media is actually a great thing because it can actually show and teach us all the truth of the matter, or at least reveal more than what mainstream media would like for you to know. So that's what I would add to that. And I'll also say this, that with all of this in people's minds and with all of this at the forefront of people's minds, we forget that this is a long game. We forget that what's happening now with Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX is not new. It's not new. This happens in traditional markets all the time over the last few decades. It's just something that happens. You get bad actors who come in and do certain things, and when anything is centralized, this is the issue. I'll say this, if anything, the biggest thing from FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried is that DeFi, decentralized finance, and you look at Bitcoin and what it represents, there's actually more of a need for that, not less. And so everyone kinds of lump things together. Well, hey, look, this was a crypto exchange. Crypto's a scam. That's not the issue. The issue is a centralized exchange acts the same way as your traditional bank. So while they may be using decentralized finance or blockchain related or crypto related type mechanisms or models to create some sort of revenue, it's still wrapped up in the traditional model. There's a central controlling power. It does things behind the scenes that you don't see, and it collects, either user data or money or whatever it is, something from other users, and it owns it, and then it can do whatever it like. So that whole model is what we are fighting against, is what we don't want. And so the whole decentralized nature, crypto, blockchain, Web3, that's actually highlighted even more. And I said I was going to share something with you at the end here that's going to highlight some of the issues that we're seeing, or the absurdity of what we're seeing. And here it is right here. This is from Alex Gladstein. Here's a tweet that says, run a Ponzi scheme, steal billions, and then, wait for it, headline a New York conference with the people who run Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and the global dollar system. So, and this comment was in relation to Sam Bankman-Fried confirms today he's speaking at NYT for the Deal Book Summit. Other speakers include Zelensky, Zuckerberg, and Yellen. It cost $2,500 to attend. So this guy, like I said, running around doing everything that he likes, giving interviews, and obviously speaking at events. Meanwhile, he has burned everybody in the process. He has given crypto a black eye, the entire space, and those in it a black eye, 2 black eyes, and a bloody lip. Don't care. So instead of him going to jail, instead of him being under investigation, here he is able to run around and speak at events. Crazy. Okay? So this whole absurd episode, it just continues, and I'm not sure how this is going to play out going forward. Too many people in positions of power are part of this, and they want to support him so that they don't look bad, and maybe that accusations don't go further than him. So let's see how this plays out. But the clown show, or the circus, definitely continues.